And we're back, Jonathan. Road to Code, episode number 13.
Oh, yeah.
We thought about making this episode 12 part 2, but we didn't realize that episode 10 had gone to 5 parts. And we probably just should have done continuous, episodes on episode 10. But I think it was still a good idea to do that because we have an episode 11, which kind of breaks away from what we were doing in episode 10. So I think we're okay. I think this is a good move. We'll do this as episode 13. And what's the first topic we're going to be talking about today?
So we have some merch available.
That's right. You want to share your screen and bring it up on the interwebs?
All right. I have a new surprise for you too.
Oh, what?
My new background.
What? That's cool. That is very cool. You know what? You should send me that image so I can make it part of my Instagram.
All right.
I'm gathering followers very quickly. So what do we got in the store?
So what we have is
T-shirts for women.
Women T-shirts, regular
Men
T-shirts, a tote
bag.
And we got these cool looking mugs.
Man, I think I'm going to get one of those mugs. I'm going to subscribe to your channel. So I can qualify. So we have a giveaway going on that we announced in the last episode, in episode 12. And episode 12 was released on the first week of June, which turned out to be May 30th. And what we're doing is we're going to let this simmer in people's minds for a whole month and give you an opportunity to subscribe. And so you get your pick of what it is what you want. If you subscribe and you click on the bell to remind you when new episodes are coming out, that will put your name into a raffle where if your name gets picked, you get to choose your merchandise piece of your own. You get one of these. If you're a male, you can get a male shirt, a tote bag, or a coffee mug. If you're a male and you still want the woman's T-shirt to give it to your hun, that's great. You can also do that. If you're female, you can get the female T-shirt, whatever size. Or if you want to get a male shirt for your hun, you can go ahead and do that. The tote bag or the free coffee mug, whichever one you get to pick if you win from the raffle. And I'm even thinking we should probably just do this raffle every month.
Yeah.
It's like give away some merchandise every month, and then
cool, yeah.
And we'll announce it online during the episode for that particular week that we're releasing the podcast episode. And we might be doing this every month. Let's see where this goes. But qualify by subscribing to the channel and clicking on the bell, and that puts your name into the bucket. And I think we talked about creating a little program that'll generate some numbers for us, right?
Yeah, and randomize it for us so we can pick at random.
It'll be done online 100%. We're not going to be cheating. We're not going to have any preferential treatment here. It's going to be done by artificial intelligence. And by what I mean that is that we're going to write the logic to randomly select some number. We're going to find a way to tie numbers to subscribers, and that'll be the winner. Very cool.
Sounds fun.
I like it. So this is we're already in the second week. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe and click on the bell. You got to do both. In order to get your name into the raffle. You got to subscribe and you got to do the subscription.
Yep, that's what enters your name.
You got to subscribe and you got to do the bell is what I mean.
Mhm.
So that's what enters your name into the little basket for raffle. And if all we get is one subscriber that click that bell, then that person's going to get that choice. Don't let that one person beat you out, man. Cool. So that'll be on June 27th. We'll announce the winner for the month of June, right?
Yep.
Cool. Let's talk about what you've been doing aside from this podcast that we're using for you to learn about C# and creating web APIs. What else have you been doing on the side?
I have been learning React at the same time. Um, Still in the beginning parts of it, I feel. Always learning, as usual. But yeah, learning React um, has been pretty fun. Just practicing lists and making up a whole HTML page.
Very cool. So if you were to compare where you're at, when did you start doing all this?
When I started React, I
No, no,
believe
no, no. I'm talking about like when you like first made the decision, I'm going to learn how to program to do web pages. And the moment you opened up your computer and actually began, what was that date?
I believe it was around August. I mean, no, sorry, no, October. It was October.
October 2020.
Yeah, 2020, last year.
And here we are, May 2nd, 2021. So you remember, was it the beginning or the end of October?
Probably, yeah, like the middle of October. We could say the beginning, I guess.
The beginning. So let's count October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So we got 7 months in. And how much time have you been dedicating to this?
I have been doing it part time, so maybe about 6 hours a week.
Okay, 6 hours a
Um,
week.
that's 6 to 12 hours a week, and just chipping away at it, basically.
And compared to that first day, how would you say your knowledge has increased and how has it made your job easier because you maintain your work's website, right?
Mhm.
How has tell me about the knowledge you knew then, the knowledge you know now, and how it's helped you with your job of keeping up the website for your company.
I feel like I learned a lot really quick, and I don't feel like it was a lot. Like it was hard to learn it either. It was like just understanding the processes and how to put everything into place. But yeah, I learned. I definitely feel like I'm still learning. But yeah, I've learned a lot since the last 7 months,
Cool.
and it's helped me through my job because um, like we use technology is going to be everywhere, really. So like you kind of have to figure out how to use your UI, and you know the better you are, the better you are at the UI, you could understand how the computer is thinking, and um, yeah, just help your job go a lot quicker and smoother.
Yeah, yeah. Troubleshooting, has it helped you with your troubleshooting?
Troubleshooting, definitely. Like with the website, understanding what they put, like um, like different programs or different systems or like items or like inputs or whatever. Understanding where they put those, that's the first step to knowing where your problem is.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So okay, so 7 months later, um, we're gonna have and we got to figure out when we bring up the our guest speaker, but we do have a student that started. Let me look at the dates here. Today's May 2nd, so he started April 27th, the same exact path that you started back in October.
Mhm.
He started April 27th, and so we're gonna have him as a guest, and he's following that same exact path. And I'll be working with him to come up to speed with technology because you're right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what field you're in. Technology is going to be involved because the cost of operating a business is continuously just going up, just climbing. The cost of minimum wage keeps on going up, which means that either prices keep up to be able to cover the minimum wage, or the general public is not going to want to pay any more, but the businesses still need to keep up with that minimum wage. And the only way to do that is to change how they're doing things, right? So if you're going to want to go and have that nice, personable waiter come and take your order at a restaurant, as that waiter's wage continues to climb, your food price has to climb in order to be able to keep up with that, right?
Mhm.
But if you have some kind of kiosk at the table, you can actually put your order at the kiosk. And one waiter, instead of handling maybe, I don't know how many tables a waiter normally handles, right? Now you can have the waiter handle 2, 3, 4 times as many tables because people are going to be using the kiosk more,
Mhm.
which is a little miniature computer where they can go and input their order. That order gets printed at the kitchen. The cooks begin to make it. And then the waiter just needs to bring it out, which frees up their time a lot more, right?
Mhm.
So if there's some kind of trouble, even the waiter is going to have to know how to troubleshoot that kiosk and be able to help the customer move forward with their order without having him with a pencil and paper sitting there taking the order, you know.
Mhm.
And I only bring up the waiter because you work at a restaurant and keeping up their what do you call it, their website. But we also have a situation where quality assurance, people that actually write the program, need a quality assurance engineer to go and test their software to make sure that not only is it doing what it is that the program is designed to do, but they also test performance. They test for all these different scenarios, right? Where now even a QA that would sit there and manually click on all these little elements on the screen, they no longer do that. They're automating all that. Now the programmer, and now the QA needs to program the automation of the QA task.
Oh, wow.
So even a QA engineer has to know how to program
Mhm.
in order to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And there's something that I showed you earlier where this automated some web stuff for me where
Mhm.
it just goes and does its thing. And but that's auto, and that's how the QA, the quality assurance engineers, go. And now they just they can program the happy path, and when the happy path breaks, all they got to do is troubleshoot what broke in the happy path,
Mhm.
or they can go and troubleshoot something more difficult that's not easily done through automation. So learning to program is become a lot more important today more than ever, where everything's just going to be automated at some point. Um, I went to I went up north to Northern California for a conference last year, and we were waiting at the terminal for the airplane for that we can board the airplane. And there was a coffee shop, and the coffee shop was ran by one single arm, a robotic arm. I think I showed you the video, didn't I?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was automated by one single arm. So I was completely like blown away of the fact that you no longer have a barista to make your coffee. Let me share the video with you and let's talk about it. So it's called Cafe X, and he even shows off a little bit,
Demo
going through, and I'm gonna turn off the volume on that. He's showing off. Um, waving. I mean, the machine's just being a clown, you know? And it goes through and it's actually making, it's going to make a cup of coffee right now. It makes some kind of drink. But yeah, you come in here, you order your drink. And I believe that the ordering is actually done on the side. And then you come in and you put your code.
Oh, okay.
Once you pay for it, you come in, you put your code, and then the arm goes out and begins making your coffee. There it is. Oh, in fact, they had already made the coffee. The arm had already made the coffee. And when you come in, you put your code in there and it allows you to grab your coffee.
It's so cool.
That's crazy, huh? And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the coffee was the same price as Starbucks. So whoever created this machine is keeping up with the price, but they're not paying anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all they're doing is just renting the space. Where if like a coffee company has to rent the space, they have to pay a salary to the person who's making the coffee. And you got all these other expenses on top of that, right? Because you have to pay taxes, right? So the employee pays their salary, their income tax. The employer has to pay the salary tax. They have to have some kind of insurance, you know, all this stuff. Or if you just put a robot in there, you've eliminated the whole human aspect out of it. You know, there's no need to take care of the human. So your job goes from being a barista to troubleshooting the barista machine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was the same. I mean, and people get scared, you know, thinking it's like, oh man, you're removing the whole human aspect out, you know, out of this thing. But this has been going on through time. When cars were first invented, they got rid of the horse guides. So there used to be people that would walk in front of the carriage and guide the horse and have these flags up and everything. But when a car came about, they no longer needed those people. So what did they do? They turned into mechanics. You know, there was like they repurposed those people. So the thing is that, you know, some people get very comfortable, and I think that's a huge mistake of humans to get comfortable at their job. You have to continue evolving, you know, and as technology comes in, you have to be able to move with technology and be able to just kind of roll with it and move on to the next one. A QA engineer 10 years ago just sat there and test software all day manually.
Mm-hmm.
A QA engineer today, they have to know how to program. And so it just, you know, this whole programming aspect is becoming more and more important as things move along. So, but yeah, it's kind of cool to see that stuff. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast.
All right, I'm ready.
What have we been working on?
We've been building a web API app.
And remind everybody, what is a web API?
Our,
I mean, in comparison to your console application, right?
mm-hmm.
Your console application ran on your machine, and it required you to be in front of your machine in order for you to be able to enter that data, right? People can go to episode 10, part whatever, and they can see you typing in, which only allowed you as a user to enter data.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself is a bottleneck, just having one person, right? So when we create a web API, what does the web API allow you to do?
Oh, well, it's going to allow other people to input whatever by accessing our database kind of thing.
Through the web, right?
The web, yeah.
And you can give them access to the API directly if they know how to use Postman, or if they create their own UI. we're going to actually create the UI as well using React, and we'll let people access the web through one of the links that we'll provide. And now you have anybody who's willing to do input go and start putting data into our little database that we got going on. Mm-hmm. So you can see where it just explodes the accessibility. We go from one person to an n number of people. It's indefinite, you know, as to how many people can access. Well, I wouldn't say it's indefinite. It's whatever the hardware can handle. So cool. And where did we leave off? What have we done so far?
We are still doing our I think we're still working on setting up the birth dates for our significant birth dates.
So I think we did quite a bit of work on our last episode where we set up a bunch of foundational work for dependency injection, some configuration. You want to bring up the code and share your screen and see where we're at?
All right.
Because I thought you said it was pretty cool when you saw the data come through.
Oh, yeah, huh?
So let's go to the controller, the birth date controller.
Birth date controller.
Yeah, you see, we did a get all birthdays.
Yeah.
And that get all is accessing that birth date repository. So if you write on line 18, if you right click on the get all and go to implementation, right there, yeah. So, and do a control MO to collapse all these. So we got the get all, but we have to do the get record by ID, the create, the update, and the delete. So we have those 4 methods to go with, right? So let's go and implement in the controller the call to get record by ID. So let's go back to the controller. Mm-hmm. And let's create, just like you have on lines 13 through 25, let's create a whole new method. You can start it after, you know what? Put it up at top. Let's start at line 12.
Okay.
And hit enter a couple times. Yeah, right there. We'll start there. And it's going to be just like it is on line 16 right now. Public action result. And we're going to call this one get birth date by ID.
Date.
And this is going to, okay, so go ahead and do the open close parenthesis and the open close curly braces. Now, inside the parentheses, mm-hmm, we're going to receive a number. And that number is going to come from the URL. So you know how you have like www.google.com and then you have like /search and then there's like a question mark and it'll say Q equals whatever, you know. Well, we're going to do something similar, but we're going to make it as part of the path, you know, of the URL. So inside of square brackets, we're going to give ASP.NET a hint, and we're going to say from route. the square brackets, but staying inside the parenthesis, we're going to say int. So the parameter is going to be a type int, and we're just going to call it birth date ID. And we can make the b a lowercase because it's a parameter, so it warrants for a lowercase. All right. And then up on top, so on line 12, go ahead and go up to line 12, press enter again. And you know how we have on line 19 the square brackets with HTTP GET?
Mhm.
We're going to do the same thing, square brackets HTTP GET. But this time, we're going to, inside the square brackets after GET, open up parentheses. So there's no space in between the parentheses and the HTTP GET. And then in here, we're going to go ahead and open up with double quotes. And then inside the quotes, we're going to open up with curly braces. And then inside the curly braces, we're going to say birth date ID, just the way you spelled it. And then we're going to put a colon and then put int, int. So essentially, what this is saying, all right, this is a big, long-winded explanation of what this is doing, okay? This is all built into the framework. It's like baked right into it.
There's curly braces, quotes, and like
there's a colon. It's like, what the heck? Where did all this syntax come from? It's like, it came from in here. Like I can't believe I actually memorized this. All right. So on line 7, you see how it says API / controller inside of the square brackets?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can you bring up Postman and let's show the query or the call that you made last week to get all birth dates? Okay, so on you see the URL, it says localhost : 44352 / API birth dates.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the route, okay? And because the controller itself doesn't know where it's going to be hosted, it starts right from / API. So I'm going to have you toggle between this and Visual Studio. So go ahead and go back to Visual Studio.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see it starts on line 7. It says API. So it doesn't know where it's being hosted. It could be www.significant.com. But all it knows is that wherever it's being hosted, it's going to start with / API. And it says, this is where I start, API. And then I'm going to put / and whatever the name of my controller is, whatever I am, that's going to be part of the route. So they made it easy so that you can just copy and paste this code and just move on with another controller. They made it easy and they just put the square brackets controller so that it gets replaced with, you see on line 9, it says birth date controller.
Mm-hmm.
It gets replaced with birth date and eliminates controller. So if you toggle back to Postman, it's whatever's being hosted, which is localhost 44352 API birth date without controller. Controller gets removed. So that ends up being the route, okay? And so if you go back to Visual Studio, there's a handful of types of requests that we make. The one that we have on line 19 is a simple get. You're just going to go and get based on the URL API birth date and whatever, wherever it's being hosted, it doesn't matter because the controller just cares API / birthday. And it's a simple get. But you can only have one get in your whole controller. The only way to get a second get is to change the route. And what we've done is we said, your route is going to be API/birthdate/ and some number. And that number is going to be picked up from the route on line 14, and it's going to be passed in as a parameter that we're calling birthdate ID. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a long-winded explanation, but I wanted to make sure you were with me the whole way. So what we're going to do is we're just going to echo that birthdate ID. We're just going to echo it right back out to Postman. So put in there, return OK, and then inside of parentheses, just like you have it on line 25, birthdate ID.
Oops.
All right. Let's go ahead and run this, and let's go and fire it up. And oh, actually we could do, yeah, we can use, we don't have to use Postman. We could just use the Swagger API that comes up.
Oh, there it is.
You want to bring it? Okay, there you go. So you see how the get is actually instructing you, says, hey, on the birthday controller, there's a parameter that you can pass in, and it's going to be called birthday API. So go ahead and click on that blue get, and let's try it out. And it even guides you. It tells you, hey, you need to provide an integer for this birthday ID. So if you just go ahead and enter 1, I mean, that's fine. It's just all it's gonna do is just return 1 to you. And if you scroll down the response body,
there it is.
Go and put 99 in there. So that's all it's doing. It's grabbing the route information. And you see where it says requested URL? It says HTTPS localhost 44352 API birthday /99.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually, the ID becomes part of the route itself. And the framework, ASP.NET framework, it does all the parsing for you. It says, I know that my controller, it starts with API. The name of my controller should be the next piece after the /. And then the final piece that I'm interested in is the ID for this particular method that I'm calling. And so the framework itself does all that parsing. It converts that 99 from a character or a string into an integer. And then when it creates the controller for you, it says, here's your parameter, and it plops it right in to that parameter. And now you can use that parameter inside the body of the method. That makes sense?
Yeah.
You with me?
That's cool, yeah.
So we're gonna use, so let's grab that URL, go ahead and copy that URL. And let's plug that into Postman. Go ahead and open up, you see the plus sign? There's a plus sign right next to the, there you go. Yeah. Oh, no, hang on. Is this it? No, the plus sign that I was, go ahead and close that tab.
Oh,
You see the plus sign, that one right there, yeah. Go ahead and put that URL right in there. So go ahead and replace that 99 with, I don't know, 101. Perry, if you're watching, this 101 is for you. Oh, 210, that's fine. So really all it's doing is just grabbing that part of the route, puts it in as part of the parameter for your method, and then you, within the body of your method, you get to do whatever you want with that parameter. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Are you with me, Jonathan?
I am with you. Yes.
All right. Just want to make sure that that's clear, that the route includes your parameter. Mm-hmm. and the framework is doing all the parsing. Otherwise, you would have to write all the logic that does all that parsing. So they've done it for you. They've included it as part of the framework for free, no charge, as in beer, free beer. So let's go back to Visual Studio. So instead of just returning OK birth date ID, what we want to do is we want to return a birth date or a record of that birth date, right? So just like you have on line 24, let's do var bday. You need to put it before the return, actually. Yeah, let's do var bday equals underscore birthday repository dot get by ID and pass in that birth date ID as a parameter.
Oh, get record by ID. Pass in. Oops.
Go ahead and pass in that birth date ID.
Oh, birthday ID?
Yeah. Because it's expecting an ID.
Got it.
And then, what's it doing here? Why is it complaining? Let's fire it up. Let's run it. See what we get.
All right. There it is.
Do you know what record ID you have?
I think we have a 3.
A 3. Let's try it. Go ahead and try it out. Click on the try it out button.
Oh.
And then try a 3.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Ralph Baer, father of video games. Oh, yeah. That was your hero.
Yep.
That was your hero growing up. So yeah, there it is. So you could see where we've done all the work when we did the console application. And then when we transferred it over to the API, we did some work to do some dependency injection and automatically pre-populate all your parameters and everything for your repository and your data. And now all we got to do is just use it in the controller itself. So let's go ahead and close this browser here. And let's go ahead and wrap lines 16 and 17 in a try catch. Actually, if you go ahead and get rid of that. If you highlight, oh, there you go. You can do that too. So just move your code into line 18. Control KD will do it for you.
Oops.
It beautifies it automatically.
Oh, yeah.
And then whatever's on line 38, that's what you're going to include in that.
The last part?
Yep. That's pretty much the nuts and bolts of a controller right there. So the controllers look very simple, but there is so much going on in the underlying framework. I mean, you think about the fact that it's translating that route and it pulls the birth date ID from the route. It handles security, it exposes it to the web, it does all this. And all you got to do is just take the result of that and just say, yeah, I got my repository. I did all my work to go and get the data. And all you're doing here is just utilizing the framework in order to be able to pull whatever it is that is being sent in. Let's look at the repository again. And what other methods do we need to implement in that repository? We did get record by ID. Now we got to create.
Yeah.
So the create, oh man, this is so cool because we already have all the requests and we already have all the responses built because we did that when we did the console application.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very cool. Okay. And a create is going to be a post. Okay. Let's go back to the controller and let's do, let's go ahead and start at the top, just like we did with the previous method, and hit enter a couple times. And again, it starts with public iAction result. And let's call this one, it doesn't really matter what we call it because it never gets exposed, but we can call it create birth date. Yeah, go ahead and put your open close curly braces after the parentheses. So this sets up the signature of your method and the body of the method. And obviously we need to receive a parameter. And that parameter is going to be what? Can you go back to the birthday repository? What is that parameter? It's going to be a birthday create request. So inside of the parentheses, just like we did from route, we're going to do from body. You need to put inside the square brackets.
Oh.
What? It's one word. All right. And then outside the square bracket, the parameter type is going to be the birthday request, the birthday create request, I think it's called.
Requests.
And then hover over it. I think you need to bring in the namespace. Yep, that's it. And so the name of the parameter, just call it REQ, short for request. Okay, now on line 13, we have to put square bracket. We have to put attributes on all these methods. So we're going to do the same thing that we did for the, you get rid of one empty line. Okay, and then go down right on top of your method and open close square brackets. And this one is going to be an HTTP post. It's one word, yeah. Post, P-O-S-T. Yep, that's it. Now, we don't need to do anything with the route. It's just going to take the default route because a post is different from a get. And I'll show you in Postman how that differs. Okay, so what we're doing is we're saying this, we're calling this URL, and this is a type of request that we're doing. The other ones were get request. This one is going to be a post request. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So again, we Does that return anything? Can you go to the birthday repository in Visual Studio? Yeah, so go to the controller. And on line 17, you're going to say underscore birthday repository. Dot. What is it called? Create?
Create,
Is it birthday create or create birthday? Oh, it's just create. Okay, cool. That works. And then, so open up your parentheses and you're going to pass in that REQ. Nice. And then go ahead and on the next line, you're just going to say return OK. And open close parenthesis. And I think there was, can you go back? I think that was supposed to be a capital O on that OK. No, on the OK. I think it's a capital O. Oh. That makes it different. Yeah. Go ahead and fire it up.
All right.
Let's run this. Yeah, there's a post right there. Go ahead and click on try it out. And let's replace that full name, that string. Let's replace it with, let's see, who do we have that? Famous or tech influencers. Something easy. Linus, Linus. Linus is his name. Mm-hmm. And Linus, let's see if he comes on Wikipedia. Ah, he does. He was born August 20th, 1986. Yeah, so I would replace each individual piece so that you keep that same format.
Okay. So August would be 08, 21st.
20th. 1986. He was born in British Columbia, Canada. He's an old fart by today's standards. And I think you can get rid of everything after the T. I'm pretty sure that'll work still. You see the T after 1986, 0820. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a T. You can get rid of all of that after. I think it's pretty safe to do that. Yeah. And you can go ahead and get rid of the line of DOD because the guy is still kicking live.
All right.
Yeah, just get rid of that whole line. And then notoriety. He's known for Linus Tech Tips.
I'll capital this. Cool. Execute.
Execute to see what we get. Scroll down to the body and see what it looks like. It was a success.
Yes.
Okay. But we don't have an ID. Well, that sucks. It would be good if we knew the ID. But we can go down and just get the birth dates. So let's go and run the birth dates API.
Okay.
Down at the bottom.
Oh. Whoops. Where am I at?
It'll be Chrome.
Chrome?
Yeah. So scroll down to the bottom and just run get birth dates.
There
he
he
is.
is. Oh, there's two of them.
Oh, did you click it twice?
Maybe.
Probably. But you'll notice that, oh, okay, yeah. So that's right. Yeah. Well, we'll be able to get rid of one of them once we implement that delete.
Cool.
So no worries. That's kind of cool, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Not too bad, not too shabby. Go ahead and close this browser. Let's see what else we got. What other API endpoint do we need to implement? Let's go check out the repository. So we've done the get all, we've done the get record by ID, we've done the create. We could do, let's go ahead and do the delete so that we can go ahead and delete that extra record.
All right.
So let's go back to the controller. Now, your delete in the controller is going to look identical to the get birth date by ID.
Okay.
So if you want, just go ahead and create your method on top of the get birth date by ID instead of putting it way up top. And instead of being get birth date by ID, you're going to say delete birth date by ID. So instead of copying line 39, it's going to be similar to line 17. So it'll just be underscore birth date dot delete. It's underscore, sorry. Don't listen to what I'm telling you, Jonathan. You should be listening to what your intuition tells you, which is the underscore birth date repository.
Repository. Oops. Repository. Delete.
No, so now you're going to pass in the birth date ID.
Oh.
And then return OK. And then we need to put the attribute on top of the method. So on top of line 21, we need to create a new line. Oh, yeah. Go ahead and fix your exception. Go ahead and fix that.
Okay.
I feel like you're on autopilot now. You just okay, so you see how on line 14 we have an HTTP post, on line 34 we have an HTTP get, and on line 49 we have an HTTP get, right? So in order to differentiate the controller to call it a different method, this is going to be an HTTP delete. And I think 13 and 14 are duplicates, right? Which is the new ones that you just inserted.
Mm-hmm.
Let's run it and delete number 14.
Okay.
Well, first of all, we'll run it. We'll get the birth dates, get all the birth dates. and let's see what IDs are there.
Yeah, it's 13 and 14.
All right, so let's go and delete 14. Or let's go delete 13. Make it obvious that you deleted something.
All right.
And let's go back and get the list of birthdays again.
Oh.
Did it work?
I don't think so.
Did you hit execute? No. On the birth dates.
The birthdays. Yeah, I did. It's still there.
What? The reason is because we're telling it that we should be getting that birth date from the route. So you see on line 35, you have to do the same thing.
Oh, like this?
Yes.
Oops.
It would be easier if you open and close your parenthesis and then open and close your, because you'll never forget to close them, or you won't remember to close them. And so
this is going to be a birth date by ID.
Or birth date ID, actually.
Oh, ID. Int.
Let's try it.
So let's get the birth date first. Make sure it's still there. Yes.
Make sure we don't have anything hidden up our sleeves.
We're going to try out this delete now. 13. All right. Then we're going to execute this again. Yeah.
It's gone?
It's gone.
That's right. Better be gone. Cool. That was the small detail that we left out. See, even I forget stuff. And so the last one, I think, is the update, right?
Yep.
And that one receives a birth date update request. So here's something unique about this update stuff. It takes a combination of the HTTP post and the combination of the HTTP get birthday by ID. So you need something from the body and you need something from the route. Okay. So let's go ahead and start our method, and we'll worry about the attribute after. Let's go ahead and create our method.
All right.
So let's go and get all the birthdays first, and let's see what we got, so we can know which one we're going to update. Let's go update. Let's see, what do we have in there?
We have Michael Arrington, Ralph Baer, Mike Lizards, Jim Bisley, Sharon Stone, Jerry Springer, Sheldon Cooper.
Sheldon Cooper. Let's update Sheldon Cooper.
All right.
So let's go ahead and go to the put and try it out. And so the first thing is the birthday ID. What birthday ID is he?
He was 12.
Okay. And then the ID again, which is 12. So one of them is from the route, the other one's from the object.
Okay.
Okay. And in our next episode, I'll tell you why we need both of them. We're not doing this 100% correctly, but we're going to fix this. Okay. And there's some changes that we'll need to do, but we'll do them later. So go ahead and put his name in. Remember, an update means you got to send in all the information. And remember his birthday? You can scroll down to check out his birthday.
1980 to 26.
So you just copy that.
Oh, yeah.
And let's change something from it. Let's put him to March 26. Oh, he was really born. That character was born February 26th, a month before me, huh? And date of death, you don't need to. Notoriety. Young Sheldon. Because he also has a show called Young Sheldon. And let's execute that.
Oh.
Oh, it actually requires it. Oh, that's interesting.
Do I put no?
You can't, because it translates it as a string. That is interesting. Why is that required? Can we go ahead and close the browser.
Okay.
And let's go over to the, on line 15, right click on birth date update request and go to definition. On line 15, from route needs to be from body. No, the second one. Because that's an object that we're receiving. So it's from body. That's what was wrong with it. Now let's give it a shot. Viewers, if you saw us typing it in incorrectly earlier, why didn't you say anything?
Okay. It's just giving the birthday ID.
Because now it's in the body.
Okay. Execute.
No, remember you got to fill in the body?
Oh, fill in the body. Oh, in here?
Yeah.
Got it. Date of birth.
You just paste it in there. Yeah. And change that 2 to a 3. Get rid of the DOD. You don't need it.
Oh, let's get rid of it. Huh?
And then Young Sheldon. And you see the ID at the bottom, you got to switch that over to 12. Yep. Execute that puppy. Yay.
Success.
Let's go and check out the birth dates.
All right.
Did it update Sheldon?
Young Sheldon.
There you go. So that means that our post is incorrect. Can you go ahead and close the browser? Our post. No, I guess that's right. From body. Yeah. The delete, that's fine. No, I think we're good. So we have get all birthdays, get birthday by ID. We got the delete. We have the create and we have the update. All 5 methods covered. So like I was explaining to you earlier, when you're working with web APIs, there's a particular standard that needs to be followed. And that standard is going to require us to make some changes to how the birth date repository returns the responses. And so I wanted to go ahead and prepare us by using the from route, like on the on line 15, we're providing both the birth date ID and the object. And so there's a way to be able to utilize those two as a form of validation. And so that's essentially what we want to use it for. But to do that, we're going to need to make some changes. And so we'll go ahead and make those changes in the next episode of the Road to Code.
Oh yeah.
Any closing thoughts?
That one was a challenging one.
What was challenging about it?
It was pretty challenging. It's for me, it's hard to see that like I don't know, like this all connects to the web API and you're just doing it on like HTML kind of thing. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So yeah. No, I totally get that. That's a good point that you're bringing up. Where where does the rubber hit the road, right? It's like just like you're on a hovercraft. You're like, how the heck does this hovercraft work? You know?
Yeah.
And so no, I totally get that. And quite honestly, when I first started working with ASP.NET, um, MVC, and the whole web API framework, it was magic for me for the first couple of years. And it was at this point for you, it's more about learning the syntax.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it's like learning the syntax than worrying about how it works inside. Because in order for you to understand how it works internally, there would be like a lot more things for you to understand. And really, my interest for you is just getting you to write some code and getting used to the syntax. And as you start to write code and you start running into certain problems, that's where the learning is going to come in.
Mhm.
And as you learn those things, the internals of how this is working is going to come naturally. You're like, oh, I see how that might work. Whether you have it right in your mind or not, just having an ideal of how it works, right? So let's take, for example, um, your truck. When you step on that gas pedal, you know that there's a cable that goes to the engine that is like pulling some lever
Mhm.
and allowing more air fuel mixture to go into the aspirator that gives you more power to the engine. So you know that there is a wire, there's a
Mhm.
physical wire. You totally understand that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But Tesla does the same exact thing. They have a gas pedal, and as you step on that gas pedal, it provides more power. But do you think that there's a cable in there?
No, it's probably just like sensors or something because it's
There's
all
this exactly, right? Exactly. There's a sensor or something. You don't necessarily need to 100 understand it, but just having an idea of like, well, here's how it works in my truck.
Mhm.
So I would imagine because it's a updated car, it doesn't have a combustible engine. They're probably just using sensors that notifies the computer to give more power from the batteries to whatever's turning the wheels, right?
Mhm.
Well, the same thing is going to happen to you here. You're going to be doing so much programming that at some point you're going to come back and look at this as like, oh, this is probably what they're doing.
Mhm.
They're taking the route and they're pulling the data and then they're converting it from a string to an integer. And how they get it into that parameter, that's still magic. But you start moving towards solving the mystery of what it is that they're doing internally for you. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. I could sit here and explain to you exactly what's going on, but it's still not going to click in your mind until you start understanding some of the things that they're doing inside of there.
Mhm.
And the only way to understand that is by you doing it yourself somewhere else. Just like I use the example of your truck having a wire tied to that gas pedal and then moving over to how the Tesla does it. I mean, there's two different implementations, but you're going to implement something that's going to require you to go read that route someday. And you're going to have to read that route and you're going to have to break up the pieces of the route and grab some information out of there. And you're going to like, oh, this must be how they're doing it too, within the framework of the
Mhm.
ASP.NET Web API. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So as you start working with it more, you'll start understanding. And there's no magic. There's nothing magical going on. I mean, the rubber has to hit the road somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And all this information comes through the request, except that they're just handling all that information for you. And they're breaking it up and sending it to the right area, so that all you got to do is focus on the meat and potatoes of the logic and say, okay, here, I got all my information. Let me go ahead and just send it down the line. Because
Got it.
you've done a lot of work. You've done the repositories, you've done the data access, you've had to create your stored procedures, you had to go and create your database.
Mm-hmm.
You've done a lot of work. The fact that Microsoft has like done some heavy lifting, so that all you got to do is just like, oh yeah, here's your API. You just need to like, it's a simple implementation, right? Because there's already a lot of work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, as more programmers come online and start working for companies, there's going to be more demand, and companies are not going to want to pay for you to do boilerplate code. This is code that like, this should come automatically. It's like, it's not going to change if you're working from one company to another. The fact that you have a URL that you're sending information to, that never changes. So
Mm-hmm.
as you move from one company to another, you shouldn't have to recreate that. That should come as part of the canned product. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it should be part of it. And that's really what Microsoft has done, is provided all that boilerplate functionality. That functionality is going to be wherever you go. And just like, don't worry about it. We'll do it for you. We've already done it. And we've done bulletproof tests, and we know that it works. Here's the syntax that you need to focus on. You know, learning later. I mean, 20 years down the line, I start thinking, how do ones and zeros get translated to a computer? I mean, I'm at that level, you know, and I was like, how does a 1 and 0 determine this video communication that we're currently doing? But that's really what it comes down to,
Mm-hmm.
is ones and zeros, you know? And so there's so much there, you know, to get you to that point, that there's like some high level syntax that needs to be learned. But I'll leave you with that. You got 20 years to catch up on.
All right.
Cool. That brings us to the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Till
And
next time.
I won't find out all that secret syntax until episode 500 million.
Well, it won't even be the episode, it'll be the season at that
See,
point. Season 20. No, I think as long as we keep on moving and progressing, me going back and explaining to you some of the stuff, we can go ahead and talk about it. It'll make more sense to you. You know, I feel like right now is like, there's so much more to learn that is going to focus on the meat and potatoes of it, that it's worth spending time there. But at some point, yeah, we're going to want to dig into this and see how the internals of this work.
Mhm.
And that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't even know what they do. I have an idea of what they're doing, but I don't know what they do. And so it'll be cool to explore. So, but we got to get this website up, and we got to get people to start putting in some significant birth dates up there.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. This is,
All right.
once again, we'll leave you with this. Until next time.
On the road to code. Peace out.